What is good, everyone? My name is OJ, and welcome to the Village of PlayerEssence, where all you PD ninjas can come to get the latest gaming news. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So Tatsumi Kimishima has talked about supporting the Nintendo Switch with Wii U games, whether they'll be ports or whether they'll be redone versions like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. In addition to that, he's also commented on there being support for older Nintendo controllers in a brand new interview. Is the Nintendo Switch powerful enough to emulate Wii U games, or would they have to be ports like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? It's kind of a weird question. Is it powerful enough? Of course it is. But anyways, let's start with this answer here. Quote, "We can take games and bring them and make them playable on Switch, so they can be remade for Switch, yes. That said, Switch is not backwards compatible with games designed for other systems, and is not currently compatible with controllers designed for other systems. Support for certain controllers may be considered for a future update. In some cases, games from past systems may be re-released for the Nintendo Switch system as either enhanced or original versions." So this is actually pretty good news here. We already knew that the Nintendo Switch was not going to be backwards compatible, but I think basically looking at the Nintendo Switch, obviously it's powerful enough to emulate a Wii U game if it needed to emulate a Wii U game, or completely redo a Wii U game with an enhanced port. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it being the same game, but just kind of touched up a bit, 1080p, 60 frames per second, and put on the Nintendo Switch. Probably going to have a lot better online as well, plus the whole new battle mode. So I don't know why he said, is it powerful enough? That's a weird question to ask, but yes, I think it's pretty cool that he talked about, Tatsumi Kimishima that is, talked about the controllers, and there being some backwards compatible support for controllers, that is, and I think that would be a great idea. I think the Wii U Pro Controller would be really good to emulate for backwards compatibility, just because it gives people more options. It gives people necessarily a cheaper option, although you lose a lot of the cool functionalities of what the Nintendo Switch is about. So I think for them to do that, the system would definitely have to be off to like a very strong start, and you see a large amount of people buying the system. But the more people that buy the system, the more you want them to spend money on the new controllers and the new peripherals, because you're spending millions of dollars of R&D on those new controllers with the HD Rumble and the tech that's inside of them. So you necessarily don't want them using everything that's old. Also, you don't want any confusion as far as built into there at all. Not that there would be, because this is clear that this is a new system and it's completely different from the Wii U, but it's just something to think about when you're talking about business. You have to think about every single aspect, and you definitely don't want there to be any type of confusion. I would obviously love for there to be support for backwards compatibility controllers, especially if you're emulating like a Wii U game, but I also think that would be cool if you brought over Wii U ports and somehow could add HD Rumble. I'm not sure if that's just a software thing or a hardware thing or something that could be added in. Somebody in the comment section would probably know, but I would like to see all of Nintendo's first-party games take advantage of HD Rumble. I'm a little bummed out that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild isn't, but I mean, it is what it is. They definitely had to get that game out for launch. So I want to see games take advantage of the new tech. So it would be awesome if there was old controller support, but then again, I want to see all of the games use the new controllers and everything like that. Yo, and speaking of Mario Kart 8, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe producer discussed the Nintendo Switch's extra power and how it came into play, improved gyro controls, and DLC possibilities. So this is coming from the Famitsu interview, and here's what Kosuke Yabuki had to say on the matter. Yabuki worked on both ARMS and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition simultaneously. Wow, that's impressive. Yabuki also was very excited to make the Nintendo Switch version of the game. He wanted to deliver Mario Kart game immediately and not start from scratch. Nintendo EPD used the extra power for 1080p and 60 frames per second on TV mode. In portable mode, it's obviously going to be 720p, 60 frames per second. Yabuki also says that the extra RAM allowed his team to experiment with holding multiple items at once. All 12 characters can hold 2 items at a time. That's interesting that RAM would be the deciding factor of how many items a character can hold, because I think like the GameCube, you could hold two items, couldn't you? Like Mario Kart on there. I mean, I know it's HD and everything, but hey, I'm not a developer, so I'm not sure exactly what issues they were experiencing with that, but hey, that's cool. 2 items at once, maybe because there's more stuff on screen, so it can process more. That's what I'm thinking. They also consulted with Nogami on the Splatoon stage and characters. There's lots of strategies that can be used in battle mode. The gyro controls are improved, and they're not completely shutting down the idea of DLC in the future, but he just says that the game already has so much content that they're not sure if that's going to be something that's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to be hard at work on Mario Kart 9 or the next big Mario Kart for next year's release or the year after. I don't think you want to keep people waiting too much for that Mario Kart fill. I mean, but it all depends, right? Mario Kart 8, I guess if it does so amazingly well and they feel that they don't need to put out another Mario Kart, maybe they're not going to, or maybe they're just going to add on to this Mario Kart as a base and sell it or resell it as a package. But I do feel that Mario Kart 9 ideas are probably already being worked on because Mario Kart is just a huge franchise. If Nintendo Wii U was actually a successful system, I think Mario Kart 8 could have probably sold over 15 million copies, but the fact that it just wasn't successful, the Wii U that is, it just really limited the amount of copies it could sell. I think they're over 8 million at this point, and it should be way over that, but even looking at that 8 million on nearly a 14 million install base, that is insane. That is well over 50%, and that is just so many people who love the Mario Kart franchise, and I think really that game, what was so appealing about it was just, one, the visuals are just absolutely beautiful. Mario and crew looks great, but also just the feel of the controls in addition to the online play that really took things a little bit further with the tournaments and all that. Now, if they can take that a step further, this could be a massive system seller for Nintendo in April. I know people have already bought Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, but that doesn't mean they're not going to want a better version with more content, with better online. And Mario Kart 8's online, while good, it's still lacking so many things, not because of the developers, but because of the system, the Wii U itself. I would love voice chat. I would love more ways for on-screen notifications and instant game invites. If the Nintendo Switch supports all that, that is a reason to buy Mario Kart 8 on the Switch version itself outside of all the extra content. So for me, that's the biggest thing why I'm going to be purchasing it, so I can take advantage of the Nintendo Switch's improved online and have voice chat and have better communication tools and setting the play appointments and all that. That's the type of stuff that I want for an online game, and that's the reason why I stopped playing Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, was because they didn't have those things. So hopefully Nintendo Switch has all that. I think it will, based on the service actually being paid in the fall. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be adding a lot of cool features to the device for online play, and I'm really looking forward to battling all of you dudes online with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch on April 28th. Alright, moving on to some Final Fantasy 15 news, and not too much surprise here. The Final Fantasy 15 team has said that they don't currently have any plans for the Nintendo Switch as far as a port for the game, but they still have interest in the device. So here's what they had to say on the matter. So according to Final Fantasy 15 director Tabata, they are unsure whether Final Fantasy 15 would run on the Nintendo Switch, although he did say that they didn't really test the game in the first place at all to see if it was even possible. So here's the full exchange between Tabata and DualShockers. So this is the question asked: is there any possibility for Final Fantasy 15 to be released on the Nintendo Switch? There are no plans. It wouldn't run. And then they responded with, it wouldn't run at all. And then he said, it might run, but we haven't conducted the proper tests on whether it would run properly on Switch or not, so I cannot say for sure. So there is no plan at all. There is no plans for Switch at the moment, but overall, there is interest in the platform among the development team. We do have lots of Nintendo fans inside BD2. He also added that, incidentally, he thinks that Nintendo Switch would be really cool if it could run Android apps on a portable screen. So to get Android applications that you would get on like a normal Android phone or an Android tablet, if you could run those on the Nintendo Switch as well, that would be cool. Also to have Final Fantasy, I guess. And a lot of people were making, I guess, somewhat of a big deal out of this, but the Luminous engine, I've always been sketchy. I've always thought maybe there's a chance, but I've always been sketchy on Final Fantasy 15 coming to Nintendo Switch because it took over 10 years or so of not continuous development, but it took a lot of fine-tuning, it took a lot of time, it took a lot of effort to get that game running on the Xbox One, to get that game running on x86 architecture, to get it running for those two devices, the PS4 and the Xbox One, which they do have varying complications for each of those systems. The Xbox One version obviously isn't full 1080p, uses some dynamic resolution here and there, looks a little soft in some areas, performance issues across the board, across PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One issues here and there depending on where you're at in the game. There was a lot of stuff that went into it, and I remember even at one point it was like 720p on the Xbox One even after all the years that it was in development. So having a Nintendo Switch version would be a big undertaking for the Luminous engine, which wasn't really designed for the type of system that Nintendo Switch is. There's no PC version of this game, and remember, the Nintendo Switch is really, with the Integra and the chipset that it does have, you can port over PC versions of the game, and there's no PC version for this game. Maybe if the Nintendo Switch is extremely successful, I'm pretty sure Square Enix is going to put together a team along with Nintendo maybe to port it over, but it's already been out for months at this point, and I think the bigger thing for me would be like Kingdom Hearts and like Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I think those would probably be bigger bets as far as getting those on the Nintendo Switch, maybe what Nintendo and Square Enix are aiming for, especially Kingdom Hearts, just because of the style of game that is, and those do run on Unreal Engine 4, which is fully supported on the Nintendo Switch. So I definitely think those games have a bigger chance. I already have Final Fantasy 15 on Xbox One, and I got a free PS4 version from a friend of mine. So hopefully they can bring it to the system in the future for those who don't have a PS4 or Xbox One, but at the same time I'd like to see it also on PC too. And speaking of Nvidia and GeForce technology, Nintendo bringing Nvidia over to the Nintendo Switch and the GeForce technology was actually one of the top priorities according to Nintendo. So Jinyo Takeda, that's Nintendo's technology fellow who researches and helps Nintendo create hardware, recently spoke about how getting Nvidia's GeForce technology onto the Nintendo Switch was a top priority for the firm. In a recent investor Q&A, Takeda had the following to say on the matter. Quote, "If I can sum up my impression in one short phase, I would use high performance but low power consumption to describe Nintendo Switch," he said. "The PC has been a major gaming device, especially outside of Japan, and my top priority in the development of the Nintendo Switch hardware was to bring Nvidia's GeForce, which has played a key role in realizing high performance graphics for PC gaming, to our hardware with low power consumption. The term crossover is sometimes used to describe an unprecedented value that is realized when merging two different attractive things, such as, in this case, high performance and low power consumption, and playing both indoors and outdoors. I feel that Nintendo Switch is a new and unique crossover in its achievement of high performance, comparable to that of PC, both in front of your TV set and in your hands." So it's really interesting that he talks about this, because that was the biggest thing that Nintendo had a problem with last time, was the type of architecture of the system, right? The Wii U, Power PC, outdated, people aren't using that, there's not going to be enough ports, people don't want to port it over, it's not worth it. Whatever excuse that you can bring up, right? But with the Nintendo Switch, with the Nvidia Tegra chip that they're building in there, a custom Nvidia Tegra chip, that definitely makes things a lot easier for stuff like Unreal Engine 4 to be fully supported and the Unity engine to be on there. And Nintendo is going to have a lot better time as far as getting other developers to port their games over, whether it's indie or major developers, and I do feel that we're going to see more probably at E3 this year. Was a big deal for Nintendo, and it falls in line with what Nintendo's always done. High performance but low power consumption. The Wii U was like that. Compared to the PS3 and 360, that is, when it comes to performance and power consumption. It didn't draw a lot of watts of power. Nintendo's portable devices have always been very low power draws, because they definitely don't want the system overheating or even having the chance of that. And the Nintendo Switch falls in line with that. You're gonna get pretty freaking good performance with the Nintendo Switch based on how small that chip is and the type of graphics that the Nintendo Switch can pull off. I think it's actually pretty impressive, because the device is not big at all, yet you're going to get games that run on PS4 and Xbox One on the Nintendo Switch, like Steep or like a Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. So it's really cool to see Nintendo going this route. Obviously, we felt that it could be that way. There was a lot of talk about it, but just to see the actual device and see what they're doing, and to know that they are going to have that type of architecture, like they've talked about, being able to be ported over from PC in about a year's worth of time, probably less for a smaller game. That's good to know, and hopefully a lot of developers take advantage of that. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you did like it. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future, and subscribe to PlayerEssence for more gaming and Nintendo news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys for the next video. Peace!